Ready Check Radio.
Stand by as we get ready to serve up all your news this week in the world of gaming. Welcome to Gaming Gumbo. What's up, Internet? It's Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That means here on twitch.tv/Ready Check Radio, it is time for Gaming Gumbo, your weekly gaming wrap-up show. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man, as always. And if you're here joining us live in chat, thank you so much. Awesome. Very, very kind of you. We'll be sure to throw your opinions in. If you couldn't make it live today, but you want to in the future, head on over to ReadyCheckRadio.com. All the socials, including Twitch, are in the upper right-hand corner, and you can follow and reply on all of them. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on the podcast platforms, we appreciate it. Hit a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, and notifications, comments, all that fun stuff that helps the show grow and be recommended to others. And you can do that too. Recommend it to others if you like what we do here. Thank you so much. We got a lot of gaming news to cover today, so I think we just get right down to it. Joining me to do it, Mr. Dom Greco. What's up, sir?
Hello. How are you?
I can't complain.
Good. That's good.
How about you?
Been busy.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah.
Very busy.
How's
I haven't even had time to shave.
How's the goosing and the ducking?
Oh, keeping me busy. It's fun. A lot of fun. I can't ask for a better company, honestly, but yeah, I don't know. It's just
you got no follow up. He's like, I got nothing.
No, I have a blast. Like it's so great to work for something you enjoy doing. You know, like I don't want to say it doesn't feel like work, because there's definitely a lot of aspects that feel like work, and I hate when people say, "Oh, it doesn't feel like work," but it kind of does.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always elements. Yeah, always elements
in certain aspects, but for sure.
Also joining us, Mr. Troy Blackburn, the Noob Fridge himself. What's up, sir?
Came this close to wearing the same hoodie for the third straight show this week, and I was like, let me just take this off.
Like, I haven't showered. I haven't showered for a week and a half, but I probably shouldn't look like I haven't showered for a week and a half.
I mean, that's how I came to be known as the blue shirt on my stream.
Yeah.
It's like I own like 7 of those shirts. And it's like I ended up wearing them like 2 or 3 days in a row.
7 blue T-shirts and 14 pink hats.
They're like, "Do you ever change your shirt?" So then I bought twice as many shirts, and I legitimately just started wearing them all the time now.
Why not?
It's the only shirt I wear on the stream.
I have like 5 monitors. I streamed. Yeah, Havoc busted my chops because I did jump into some Dead Space remake last night. Man, is that good? I mean, we got a lot of stuff. You know what? Gentlemen, I'm just feeling like things in the gaming world just like they're just not fun lately. And we kind of touched on this 2 weeks ago. We had the developer direct this week, right? Bethesda, Xbox showing off some cool stuff. They did their Forza, which I'm sure is going to be very, very good. Their Minecraft Legends stuff, which if you're into that, it's probably got you pretty happy. Redfall, I think Troy and I spent quite a bit of time on MMO Bomb Always Online podcast last night, checking out the talking about Redfall and Elder Scrolls Online. So, like, if you want in-depth opinions about those and what we're pumped for, what we like, and what we think they may have missed the mark on, check out the Always Online podcast on mmobomb.com. I mean, that was cool stuff, right? But then, like, Xbox is down sales-wise, and Phil Spencer was talking about, like, last year, they had some big releases, and this year they just didn't. And they got to change that, and what's really concerning maybe for trends and sales analysis people is hardware is down. Software you expect to be down if you don't have the releases, but hardware's down, and that's pretty early in the life cycle of new consoles to be down. I mean, that's just down. And oh my God.
The lyrics of Blink-182 song.
Justin Roiland is, bounced from Adult Swim, and he resigns from Squanch Games over the stuff we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and just down. I got these show notes, guys. Dead Space came out. The reviews are doing good. The game's a lot of fun so far. There's a lot of familiar yet new. It looks beautiful. I streamed some of it last night on a whim. I got these show notes and I sent them to you and all those things. And I don't want to talk about any of them. Like, I spent
feeling down.
Yeah, I spent like an hour and a half putting the show notes together, getting the necessary links, and all right, the guys will be, how do we make the Redfall and Elder Scroll portion a little different? Because sometimes there's like the developer direct, right, Troy? It's a big thing. I gotta cover it when there's multiplayer stuff on MMO Bomb. I gotta cover it here. Otherwise, it's like, did you guys sleep through the biggest stream video game thing this week? How do we make it a little different, though? I don't like saying the same things on both shows or having the guests do that. And they just, okay, here's the angle we'll take on it. But I don't want to. Do you want to do something different? You guys want to do something like you guys have no idea that the show was going to go this way. So like, I got to get your.
Well, Lord, what are you thinking?
I got to get your buy-in, but maybe we do something different. Like maybe we just talk about games and have some fun. I mean, that's what they're supposed to be, right?
What's fun?
Like, let's just talk about games. Like, Troy, what's your personal favorite game of all time? Like, it doesn't matter if it was an NES game and it's got so much nostalgia and love for you that it is the best game on your list, even though it is leagues away from being in the top 1,000 anymore. Like, what is your favorite game of all time?
Oh, man, the one I was probably the most invested in ever, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Really?
Yeah, on the PS2, man. I was super freaking into that game. I played that game to death. To this day, I probably don't have anything that touches the amount of hours I put into San Andreas.
What pushed San Andreas over the like obviously GTA 3 and some of the others?
It's just that I got a PS2 when it came out, and I had full-time access to it. Yeah, I bought the game. I bought the PlayStation, and I was able to play it. Before that, I didn't always have a console. I would play over at friends' houses and stuff like that. And I picked up a PlayStation for my birthday that year, and I bought a handful of games. And San Andreas was the one that sucked me in, man. Something about that world, and being part of the gang, but there's all this inner turmoil within the gang. And then the crooked police and the stories within that game, they were great. They were told excellently, except for the train mission. Fuck that train mission.
Well, now we know.
I am that guy. Every time I see somebody post about that stupid train mission, I'm like, yep, that was me. That was me. Absolutely throwing my controller over that stupid train mission.
To Cal saying it might be 14 for me, but maybe that's some recency bias. That's fine. So if you remove that, probably Final Fantasy X or River City Ransom or Star Fox 64. River City Ransom was the shit, man.
A barrel roll.
Yeah, on the NES, man. River City Ransom. Just bop, 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 bop. Love that game. Love that. And of course, Star Fox is a classic. What about you, Dom? Like, what's the one for you?
I think I've talked about this actually one time on this show before. Was a game by Konami called Shadow of Destiny in the US. I believe it was on PS2.
I can picture the box. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was called Shadow of Memories everywhere else but the US. It was a Konami game, dealt with time travel. You at the very start of the game you get murdered. And you go to like some limbo kind of area, and you get this digipad, and you can time travel to the point of your death. And the whole point of the game is to stop yourself from dying. And everything you do, you keep dying right after you fix it. So like at the start of the game, you get stabbed in the back. So you do something to prevent yourself from getting stabbed in the back. A little bit later, somebody jumps out from behind a tree and stabs you. You go back 200 years before the tree was planted and stop the tree from being planted. It's a game that has a lot of different paths you could take, and whatever you do affects the outcome. I think it was one of the very first fully voiced games in this kind of gameplay style that I ever played, which I think is why I have so much attachment to it. And the one of the lead characters is actually voiced by Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario.
Mario, yeah.
And it's a voice that you would never even recognize. You would never hear, like, even now, like, you can pull the voice up on YouTube and listen to it. The character's name is Homunculus, and you would never even be like, that's Charles Martinet. You would never be able to
I
recognize
still
it.
have my copy of that.
Yeah, I do too.
It was great. Baron Vagabond, by the way, chiming in with Sly Cooper series, all 3 of them. I spent way too many hours in the first Sly Cooper, like way too many hours. That might be, I mean, you know, N64 and Super Mario 64 aside, that might be like one of the games that I spent the most time just like grinding the collectibles everywhere was the original Sly. Yeah, man, Shadow
I
Destiny.
mean, like, I think we could, not that we should, but I think, like, we each have probably our own crazy, like, game of every genre that's going to be so, like, wildly different, you know, like a platformer versus, like, a you know, adventure game or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But, yeah.
I think I have to go with the original Legend of Zelda. Like that's going back to the NES days.
Mm.
I mean, at that time, like my dad had an Atari, right? Because I was born in '81. So if you think about that, the North American video game crash was '83, right? And so
Yep.
when we hit '85, '86, '87, my dad had an Atari still. So I did get to play Atari, but I was playing video games after you really couldn't get Atari stuff in stores anymore. Like this was a classic thing my dad had in the basement, and Commodore 64 gaming and stuff like that. The NES playing Mario, you know, and a couple other games as a kid was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like you beat the level, beat the level, beat the level, beat the level. Zelda was the first one that was like, okay, screen opened up, go. Like, okay, go where? Yeah, that. No, I mean go where? Yeah, just go. just go. And then Link to the Past, yeah, further like refined that formula, and it was just so I think that was absolutely probably my favorite game of all time if I have to pick just one.
Trying to think though, like back in the NES days, what was like the retail price for games back then? Wasn't it at like somewhere between like 40 and
Yeah, it was between 40 and
$40?
$50. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I
That's
remember
serious.
buying personally Super Nintendo games because I would have like my little. I set bowling pins on Friday night. My brother and Chat Havoc and I, we set bowling pins for a senior citizens duck pin bowling league every Friday night in a 4-alley bowling alley that didn't have automatic pin setters. And then we do that Friday night, and then Saturday morning we would like take the bus into downtown and go to a comic book store, or we would take 2 buses to get to the closest mall and, you know, go shop there. So I remember buying 1 or 2 Super Nintendo games, and they were, you know, save up $55 and go buy them, and you had enough for tax, right? Like that was the whole thing. Do I have enough for bus fare, home, and buying it? No, I guess I'm going to walk the 6 miles to the mall, buy the game, and then take the bus home. So definitely, yeah, Zelda. What about here's a good one for you. What about the game that, like, when you played it the first time, whether it was 6 months ago or when you were 10 years old, what about the game you played, Dom, for the first time that whether you liked the game or not, it blew your mind? Like, when you saw it, you were like, this is it. Like, video games aren't going to get any better looking, better sounding, like, more intricate, like...
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
no
that bar
way it gets any
changes all the
better
time,
than that.
but I will say my first experience with that was probably Mario 64. You know, like that very first time you boot it up and the camera spins around you. And, you know, you look at it now and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? But back then it was like, oof, this is the peak, you know?
Havoc saying World of Warcraft, if I'm being honest. And I think that might actually be a lot of people's answers, too. Like, because that was
disappointed with that, though.
Yeah, I don't think you can deny, like, and I'm not talking a numbers game and how wildly successful it got.
Right.
But just looking at the number of people that knew online multiplayer gaming was a thing at that time. That I'm not talking like a couple of friends playing Doom or stuff like that. I'm talking about like all these people massively game, because if you weren't into EverQuest or Ultima Online, those
Galaxies.
Yeah, well, that was it was the same era.
It was before.
It was the same era, yeah.
It was
But if
before
you
Warcraft
weren't
launched.
in those very specific games, like, you had no idea what genre that was. And then to like walk into Stormwind the first time and have the music go up, and I think a lot of people might give that answer. What about you, Troy?
You kidding me? The first time I walked into Orgrimmar, I got lost. I was stuck in that city for a long time.
You mean Thunder Bluff, right?
Yeah, Thunder Bluff. That's where I started, was Thunder Bluff, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool up on the mesas and stuff." I was a cow. Then my friend ported me to Orgrimmar, and I was like, "What is this? How do I get to where? How do I get out of here first of all, and back to where I'm trying to go?"
Baron Vagabond saying since they're 50, Pong, just controlling something on TV was mind-blowing. So I have, to this day, my dad's Pong system, literally system, gang. In those days, there was, you just turned it on and played Pong, and his Atari and stuff like that over at my mom's house. Yeah, so I don't get to share in Baron's memory of that. Because I had seen Atari and Nintendo before my dad was like, well, here, check this out. This was really the first thing you could buy for your home and do this. But I think that's got to be another like seminal moment for a lot of people that were in gaming for large portions of their life. Takal says maybe Fear because of the AI. That the AI in the original Fear was groundbreaking. Like, no joke. Whether you like the game or not, it was groundbreaking AI for the time that would flank you and would learn, wasn't what AI learning the way we think of it today, but would learn based on the player's behavior, the best kind of strategy to get around it. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'd also say, like, to a lesser degree, like I have memories of playing like the original Super Mario Brothers with my grandfather, right? And you watch him and he plays and he's like taking the controller and he's like going like this to try to make Mario go over the
my
edge.
mom
And
is
then,
the
like,
queen
whole-
of that with Mario
Right.
Kart.
But it was the whole like evolution of getting to like the era of the Nintendo Wii, and then doing that actually mattered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I was like, oh my god, like mind blown. Like this absolutely changes gaming.
We used to jab my mom so much on that. We're like, Mom, leaning doesn't help the cart turn,
Yep.
right? Like it's not, and now it does. Like,
Right. I made a comment to my grandfather about this, and he went, I was just ahead of my time.
I still to this day catch myself in a shooter when I'm peeking around the corner. I'll lean my head.
Yeah.
I still to this day.
So I don't do that too often. Like I might jump at a scare or something. Dead Space remake got me twice last night. Like legitimately got me twice last night. And but I'll sit there and I'll play Rocket League, and it's like come on. It's like I'm trying to will the car into the air. How sad is it that my mom used to whoop me and all my friends on world-class track meet on the power pad? Raise your hands if you played world-class track meet on the power pad with your hands. I was the best at that shit. The best at that shit. Cheetah was a bitch. Cheetah was a cheater. And if you know what I'm talking about, you're old too. Cheetah was a cheater. I think one, like obviously the first time. Yeah. Oh, that is my kind of thing, Havoc. That is. And my kids get it. My kids do it too. And it's not just when I'm gaming, but when I'm concentrating on anything, I do the
tongue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mike is very famous for that.
Yeah. I do the tongue out of
I
either
saw
side.
that face a lot when we were battling over time scores in Astro Boy.
I mean, when I'm in the zone, whether it's like doing some programming or playing a game, and it's not just in the cheek. A lot of people do that, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm full blown. Just go back and watch our raid streams, Dom. And I'm like, come on, guys, taunt, please, I'm gonna die. I think I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, there's kind of a lot, right? Like Final Fantasy VII for me was one of those wow, mind-blowing type moments. Just narratively and almost cinematic. But I think like if I have to go PS1 era, Resident Evil, like the original, because that was the first PlayStation game I played ever. And as much as a video game kid as I was, and Havoc wasn't really into video games, he liked watching them, and so did my mom. But Havoc enjoyed watching them. But so when we, as much as a video game, I had the NES, I got the Super Nintendo for Christmas. I was like, whatever it was, 14 or so, freshman year of high school, maybe, or early sophomore year, whenever PlayStation was. I didn't know that the PlayStation was a thing that was coming or had come out. Like, I never owned the Genesis products. My dad didn't like the company because it was geared more towards adults and we were young kids. And so we always had NES stuff, and that was fine. We didn't care. And
It's like a can do what Nintendo don't.
yeah, it was a friend of mine reading the Resident Evil strategy guide at school, and I was like, what the hell is that? And he shows it to me, and I'm like, what is this on? PlayStation. What the fuck's a PlayStation? Like, what the fuck is a PlayStation? It's a game console. What? Does Nintendo make it? Like, did I fall asleep? like N64, yeah. No, PlayStation. And then, yeah, bringing the PlayStation home and Resident Evil, it was, wow, they can do this. But like, there are other moments, I think, that do this. Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. Like, graphics are never going to get better than this, man. Like, this looks, that's a real monkey right there.
They did some amazing, like when you look at it, it's 3D rendered, obviously, and then it's like the 3D renders are then sprite sheeted out, like they're cut out and put into like a 2D sprite. It's mind blowing the process in which they did that. It still holds up to this day. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and then even
I
though
think
most
the
of
original Donkey Kong Country looks better than like modern day Donkey Kong Country stuff.
A lot of the PlayStation 2 launch titles, for as terrible as they were, you were like, I can't believe a game looks like this. And now we see like incremental improvements, right? We're kind of at the stage where it's like HDR and improved ray tracing and lighting effects and things like that. Like, you know, how human can you make a human look in a video game? Well, we're pretty much as far as we can take that before they start looking really fucking weird.
Yeah.
But we have those
uncanny valley effect.
Yeah, we have those like incremental side improvements, better lighting, better environmental design and stuff like that. Not to say that there aren't graphical improvements, don't misunderstand me, but they're not as like, go look at your Super Nintendo and then go pop in a PlayStation game and you're like, in the span of 5 years, how did we figure this out? How did we do this?
You know, I just had another like moment of like epiphany, which is something that didn't even exist, right? It was supposed to exist, but it didn't. And I still have this fond memory of, I was a firm subscriber to Nintendo Power, right? I had all the Nintendo Powers, right? So in Nintendo Power, they were talking about the Nintendo 64 disk drive, right? And that whole concept blew my mind because at the time, you buy a game, you play it, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no changing it. And the disk drive was like, here's a way to update your games and add more content to your favorite games.
Well,
and I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah, and
like you can do this?
Years later, when you become an adult and you're really into video games, if you stick with that, like that becomes one of your adult hobbies, and you go back and like you're like, wow, how did this never make it to the United States? Like the Famicom disk drive, right? Where you just you just took your disc out to a kiosk, spent like $4, got a new game on it, came home, played that new game till you were done, took the disc back to the damn red box in Japan, and you got yourself a new game. PS2 bad launch titles. Tekken Tag says, "Watch your mouth." Okay, fair enough. But Summoner, Eternal Ring, like, come on. The launch titles for the PS2 were a bit cock. They were a bit. Parasite Eve for Baron Vagabond. That's also a good one. How about your favorite gaming related memory? Like maybe it's not playing a game, maybe it's getting something as a gift or watching somebody else. Like just your favorite gaming related memory, Troy.
Mine is easy. It's Rift beta, and they had not introduced the zone events into the game yet. the rifts and the big zone rift events. And so the first beta where that hit and the freaking sky went dark and the voice thundered across the land and the kind of just the overall feel of the world just changed around me, and this zone event started, I literally stopped and I was like, holy shit. That was one of my favorite gaming memories of all time. One of the things that you'll never be able to recreate, even later on in new zones with new zone events. That first moment of boom, the world darkens and changes. Some shit's going down. Like, it was obvious some shit was going down, and it was awesome, and I loved it.
Tikal asking for clarification on the question for favorite memory now or at the time. Like, which memory had the best high at the time? However you want to answer. Who cares? We're just having fun talking video games.
Yeah.
There's no rules today. I threw out the show notes, and my two hosts are just like, yeah, we got you. they had no clue this was coming.
No, not in the slightest. I kind of have two that I don't know which is better. One is a more, it's not even recent. It's 15 years at this, or longer at this point. Was raiding in World of Warcraft and finishing the Four Horsemen in the original 40-man version in Naxxramas, and how complicated and intricate that fight was, and spending like a month on it and then finally getting it. Just like the feeling of that was absolutely amazing. And I was so out of my element because during I came in like a raid tier before to this guild, right? And then I had brought a friend in because we needed tanks. You needed 8 tanks to do this fight, right? And we were just recruiting tanks at this point. So I was like, I got a friend, I could do it. He ended up being super flaky, right? And you know, I maybe we might have account shared at the time. And I had access to his account.
Netflix gonna charge you for that stuff.
Right. When he didn't show up, they asked me to log over onto his account and tank, right? So now I'm not a tank, but I was like, all right, let's do it. How difficult could it be? So me tanking on that fight and us getting the first kill ever, like on our server, and not like world kill, but like first kill on our server, first kill in our guild, obviously. With me on a tank just was a crazy feeling. And then because of the way the loot system worked, I was able to log off the tank. The loot was in a chest, and I was still able to loot the chest and get my tier pants on my rogue. So like that was such a crazy, very unique feeling, that like, because I was so out of my element on that and felt so proud of that moment. But my all-time I think favorite gaming memory is one with the Sega Genesis. Is I really wanted the Sega Genesis. Right, and I asked for the Sega Genesis for Christmas. I don't want anything else. I just want the Sega Genesis. Christmas comes. It's like the day before, like Christmas Eve, and we're at my grandmother's house. My aunt stops by, and she gives me a game, and it's like Home Alone 2, I think it was Home Alone 2 on the Sega Genesis, and I'm like, I don't have a Sega Genesis. And then me going, oh, she probably knows I'm getting a Sega Genesis, so I have a Sega Genesis tomorrow. I'm so excited. And I was just like, oh, I don't have one. Like, I tried to play it off as like,
Right.
disappointed. You got it for the wrong thing or whatever. And she's like, oh, we could exchange it. We could exchange it. Just get it to me, next week or whatever. And I was like, okay. So now the whole night, like, I'm super excited going, I'm
get
get
a
Sega
Genesis, baby.
I'm pumped.
I'm gonna do what Nintendo don't.
I open all my gifts. There's no Sega Genesis. I am like, absolutely beyond mad, right? I'm sitting there like not mad but disappointed, and
like, then now not only do I have to exchange this game, but it's freaking Home Alone 2. I mean,
right.
God.
Right. So I remember, and I got a Super Nintendo game, and we had some time to kill before my going to my grandmother's for Christmas Day, or my aunt's or whatever we were going for Christmas Day. So I got all ready, because that was the rule. You had to get ready before it's time to leave. That way, like, if you want to go play games, you can come leave immediately when it's time to go. So did that. Brought my game downstairs where the Super Nintendo was. And where the Super Nintendo used to be, there was a Sega Genesis all set up, hooked up to the TV and ready
that's
to go.
awesome.
And I was like, "Oh, you motherfucker!" You know, like I was mad all over again, but I was so happy. It was like the best fake out ever. You know,
I got the Christmas fake out too. It was with my Super Nintendo. We went through. It was just Havoc and I at the time. Our third brother, Corey, you know him as Lou, wasn't born yet, and I was convinced I was getting the Super Nintendo, right? I wanted one so bad. You know, my dad would game with me, so it's like, I'm getting a Super Nintendo. Like, if for no other reason than dad wants to play Super Nintendo. And so you go through all the presents and everything. Nothing. I got some good gifts. Like, it's not like I was pissed or disappointed or anything, but it was like, oh, you know, didn't get a Super Nintendo. Oh, what is this? You know, they pulled the old Christmas Story. What's that behind the desk over there? And Ralphie gets his rifle. It was behind the couch. It was behind the couch. I was like, you sons of... So they did the same thing to me. They did the same thing to me. Well, I like, and you're right. There's so many gaming memories that we all have. Like to Cal saying, you know, now you'll know why I asked about time, because this memory didn't age well. But his is, at the time, it was getting his Atari Jaguar. Yeah, I bet you were happy that day. I bet you were. You're right, it didn't age well. Havoc, my brother, says, doing Dead Mines for the first time with a group that was the right level for it at my house. That's true. So many of you know this, but I was a Final Fantasy XI guy who had been told to try World of Warcraft once or twice, and I was like, this is stupid. Everybody's got exclamation points over their head. You like know exactly where to go. This is dumb. This is easy. I'm going back to Final Fantasy XI. And then when Havoc finally picked it up, and that was really one of the first games Havoc like dove into. I mean, he'd play every once in a while this game, or hey, check this game out, but he was not into gaming generally speaking until he picked up World of Warcraft. Like, and then he just dove into that. Free time, World of Warcraft. And so, all right, fine, I'll start playing it too. I'll play, because I got these people, I don't know them though, you know, they're my guild or whatever. You come and we'll do stuff. We'll level characters together. Okay, fine, I'll do it. My computer, I remember, I don't know if Havoc remembers this at the time, but, you know, I never had a gaming computer. I couldn't afford one. I played Final Fantasy XI on the PlayStation 2. And I had a computer that we thought, okay, maybe it'll be able to run it. We'll play it in low or medium at best, whatever. We'll see how it works. And it would be fine, generally speaking, until you hit things that were a little faster motion. Like if you got on a flight path and it did, you know, the whole cinematic fly to the next flight path, it was the whole thing. It's like, this just isn't working. Like there's going to be certain things later in the game I know is not going to be. So we're like looking at the specs of the computer, and Havoc shows up in my house and he's like, here's some RAM. Change the RAM out. He's like, upgrade this RAM. Like, okay, fine. And we do it and it works fine. So yeah, he comes over one time. He's playing on his laptop. I'm on my desktop. I'm in the dining room. I can see him like 5 feet away through in the living room. He's on the love seat. He's playing. And in my house, because I had kids, we've never smoked in my house anywhere I've lived. My wife and I always smoked outside because we didn't want the house, you know, filling up with that stuff for the kids. And it smells terrible anyway. And so we're like, want to try Dead Mines? You know, it's time. We're like level 18. Now you got to remember, this is the original Dead Mines. It's a long dungeon. There is no dungeon finder yet. That's not a thing. And so we're, okay, 2 DPS, looking for group, Dead Mines, and we finally get a group. And we've never run anything like this in our lives. And we go through, and first boss down, go through, second boss down. You have to CC. Like, you got to do your job at that time. And the group's like, it's so long. Yeah, you had to stand outside the instance yelling. Yeah, 2 DPS, LFG, dead DM. And so halfway through, the group's like, okay, let's take 10 minutes, and everybody, you know, stretch and pee and stuff, because we'd been there for like an hour and 15 minutes, and we're like halfway, 3/4 of the way through. We go out and smoke, and I remember like smoking and Havoc smoking, and I'm just like, this is intense, man. Like, it's fucking Dead Mines. And everyone's just like, this is intense. No, the dungeon didn't kick us out. We ended up finishing it. We ended up finishing it. Then, like, I think about doing. There was a buddy of mine in kindergarten, Ricky, who was like my best friend all the way through, like midway through high school, and we just kind of fell out of touch at that point because we went to 2 different high schools. But we used to always game together, and he had more games than we did. His family was a little more financially better off than we were, and I just remember like Super Punch Out. Sleeping over at his house, and we spent the whole night, all night, till the sun came up, literally trying to beat Dragon Chan. We just could not get that fight down. Speaking of Charles Martinet, by the way, he voiced every single character in that game. Every single one. I'm not joking. Go look at a cast list. He's the voice actor for all of them. What was the first, Troy, like, the first game that you were like, I might be a little addicted to this game? Like, I'm at work or school and I'm thinking about it and what I'm going to do as soon as I get there, and I got home and maybe I should be doing my homework, or I got projects I got to do, bricks to put up on the roof, and no, I'm not going to do it. What is the first game there for you?
World of Warcraft.
Was it?
That's the one that sucked me in, and I played when I shouldn't be playing, and I didn't do things I needed to do. I would be at work. I worked at a little carpet store back then, and a lot of time the owners would go golf or go out of town or go on a cruise and stuff like that. And so all I would do all day was sit there and play World of Warcraft. It's the game that finally got me to get consistent internet at my house. Like, we would have internet for a few months here and there, and then we'd be like, well, we don't really need this. We'd let it go. World of Warcraft's the reason I started getting consistent internet at the house, and I've had consistent internet at my house ever since then because of online gaming.
Baron, by the way, saying that they ran Dead Mines not knowing what a dungeon was. Hard lesson, fast death. Yeah, we all did that. Takao saying NCAA 2000 got fired from my first job due to keep calling out sick to do franchise mode. Mine, I think, is MMO too. Like, obviously, there's been a lot of games that I'm like, I can't wait to get home and play that. But they all kind of fell into that bucket of, as soon as I beat it, maybe I would play it again, maybe I wouldn't.
Yeah, there's something about an MMO because you know
Yeah.
your friends are on. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to get on because my friends are on. It doesn't matter what the heck else I've got going on.
Yeah, Final Fantasy
Or
11
like San
was that
Andreas,
for
where I
me.
was so much into that, I could jump on and off whenever I wanted to, because it wasn't like I was playing with other people or other people to talk to and stuff like that. But with an MMO, it was definitely, hey, my friends are on, man, I got to get on right now.
Right. I agree with you. Final Fantasy 11 was probably mine there. What do you got, Dom?
So two little things. One is a very different way to answer this question. This is not an intentional way to think about it, but I used to play a lot of games like Tetris. And,
I didn't even think. My dad and I were freaking addicted. We were addicted to Tetris. You're right.
Like, what do they call it? Puyo Puyo now?
Yeah.
It was Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine in the US. That's the first time I've ever experienced that one on Sega Genesis, right? I used to play those games so much that I would lay down and close my eyes and only see Tetris blocks.
Yeah,
or
I mean, that's a
Puyo
legit
things.
thing. It was the
Like,
Tetris effect.
Could not get it out of my head. Yeah, that's all I could see. Just colors, shapes. So like that's one thing of not being able to get out of your head. So that's not exactly what you were looking for there, but that is one way to answer that question.
Yeah, and that's absolutely a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I've had
I
it,
think
and
for me,
but it's a legit, like, syndrome almost, or in the Tetris effect or the Tetris syndrome. It's when you're so focused on something that, like, your pattern of thought and everything just starts revolving around that.
for me, and it kind of coincides with a launch that happened yesterday. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. GoldenEye 007.
Yeah,
Played
the remake.
hell out of that game to the point where I was taking like loose leaf notebook pages and drawing maps and studying the maps when I wasn't in the game, and I'm like looking at them in school, and I'm like, ooh, this would be a good idea for a level, because now they're talking about the 64 disk drive, and it'd be cool to get extra levels to put into the game. And it's like one of those things where it's like I'm sitting here trying to design multiplayer levels, and yeah, so is one of those. But I have a question for you guys, but I need to tell my story first because I don't want to give away. Because if I tell you what the question is and then I tell the story, you're gonna know what direction the story's going in.
I'm intrigued. Go ahead.
So Um, Similar to you, I never owned like a PlayStation. I was a Nintendo fanboy, and I just barely had gotten Sega Genesis at the time. One of my friends was going to Florida for like a month, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to borrow my PlayStation?" Uh, he's like, "I have these games here. You could try them out." It was like Crash Bandicoot, Final Fantasy VII, and I think it was like Independence Day, which was awful for the record. So I was like, "Yeah, no, like, sure, let me try it. I've never played a PlayStation in my life." So I got hooked on Final Fantasy VII. I played the hell out of it, and I'm like, I only got a month to play this thing, so I gotta put as much time in this as I can. And things were good, and I got like to disc 2 or 3, whatever during the game. Like I had a lot of fun with it. Then he was coming home, and I'm like really rushing now to play because I'm trying to beat it, and I have like a day left. It's the day before he gets home, and I'm playing, and I go to save, and I saved over his game file.
Oh.
So my question to you is, what is that one moment of panic you've ever had playing a video game?
So what's funny is like you guys, my co-host here, they have no idea. Legitimately, they had no idea I was going to throw the show off the rails today. And my question. So I actually wrote a second set of show notes that they don't have. That is like a list of these types of questions and some fun variations and stuff. Literally, one of them a little further down that I think is basically yours is, what's the biggest real life fight you ever got into because of a game?
Well, I will say that mine ended on a good note. While he was gone in Florida, he ended up picking up the strategy guide for Final Fantasy VII, and he said he missed so much stuff that he wanted to go back and start over anyway, so he actually wasn't mad. So. Yeah, but it was, as soon as I did it, it was that sheer moment of panic.
I thought I lost a Blockbuster rental. And I thought my dad was going to beat the shit out of me. Like, I was convinced, I'm dead. So the Blockbuster was a thing, and then locally we had Eagle Video, which was like the entertainment portion of the Giant Eagle grocery franchise. And then we had Far More Entertainment, and that was the Blockbuster competitor from the Far More, which is basically, think of a Rite Aid or a Walgreens. That's what Far More was at the time. And Far More Entertainment was the one we rented from the most because it was the cheapest. And Blockbuster, as cool as we may fondly look at it now, it was kind of expensive for what they were doing at the time. They were the most expensive dogs on the market for new releases in particular. And we had rented a Super Nintendo game, and yeah, exactly. To Cal knows, if you lost it, you bought it. Like, retail price, but not real retail price. The $50 NES game was going to cost $79.99. And I was terrified. It was due to go back. I had started looking for it the night before so that I could get it prepped to ride my bike down after school and take it back. I couldn't find it. Next day before school, I get up a little early. I can't find it. Go to school, I'm like sweating, like shitting bricks. I'm gonna be grounded. My ass is gonna get beat. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in so much trouble. Get home, can't find it. I know Blockbuster's closing at like 9 p.m. It's 8:30, and I gotta go tell my dad I can't find this, and it was due back today. And I'm like, oh, how am I gonna do this? Oh God. So I go and tell him, and he's like, what, that game? And I'm like, yeah, I can't find it. He's like, I took it back yesterday. Wasn't it due yesterday? And I'm like, you son of a bitch! Not only have I been sweating about this for 24 hours, but you robbed me of being able to play it last night by taking it back early. You son of a bitch. What about you, Troy?
My World of Warcraft account got hacked one time.
Oh.
And we're talking, I was in a big raiding guild, and we had participated in a bunch of events where, the biggest raiding guilds on our server bring your biggest DPS and let's see who's the big dick. and I was second or third in almost all of those. I had the gear, I had the knowledge, I had everything I needed, and it got hacked, and just like that, it was all gone. And it devastated me. I still remember the account was logged in, and I knew it was logged in because I was in Discord with some of my guildmates. They were saying, "Yeah, you're logged in. You're selling stuff. Like, you keep messaging people to sell stuff.
You're selling
I'm
stuff,
like-
and it happens to look like everything we saw you wearing. It's really
Yeah.
weird."
They're like, you're naked and you're selling stuff, and I'm just like, and I'm like emailing Blizzard, and I'm like panicked, and I'm like cussing, and I'm like, I'm sending nice emails, I'm sending dirty emails, I'm sending panicked emails. Like, I don't know what to do. And I was just absolutely devastated that I ended up getting some of the stuff replaced, but not all of it. So I had to rework to get some of that stuff. But yeah, I was panicked and devastated that night because I still remember to this day, my computer was up against this wall over here, and I was just sitting there staring out the window that's over there, just knowing that my account is logged in for somebody else,
I could just
giving
see
all my
Troy
stuff away.
sitting at his computer, leaning back, looking out the window forlornly, a light rain falling outside, and all
Bro.
of a sudden, all you hear is, "Hello, darkness, my old friend."
I was thinking of Mad World myself.
I mean, WoW was everything to me at that point. Like, it was what I did. It was who I was in that moment. And that tore me up, man.
Baron Vagabond in chat says, "Broken
mad,
Atari
sad.
controller, or so I thought. When Dad got home, his first words were, 'I broke the controller. Here's a new one.'" Dads were good for that, weren't they? They were good for that stuff. What about the first console, Dom, that was yours, personally yours? Now, you didn't have to buy it yourself. You could have gotten it as a gift. That the source doesn't matter, but it wasn't like your dad's or the family's. This was Dom's
Right.
console.
So me and my brother are 4 years apart. My very first one that was ever given to me was the original NES because my grandfather just gave it to me because I would go over his house and play his not my father, but it was one of my uncles. I'd play his Nintendo over there all the time. So he brought me one, but I was really too old to even grasp the concept that this is mine. So every console after that was always me and my brother. We had to share the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, the Dreamcast, the N64, the GameCube, the PlayStation 1. PS2 was the first one I bought with my own money. So that one was mine. But I did have an Xbox for a very brief window, the original Xbox with those giant controllers that nobody liked, that I remember my aunt bought for me as a gift. And then my brother moved out with some friends or something, and then he ended up taking it thinking it was his, and then he sold it, so I don't have it anymore. It's the only console that I've ever owned that I don't own.
Which one?
Anymore. The original Xbox.
Ah, all right. Mine was first one that was mine was the Super Nintendo, as a Christmas gift. And the PlayStation 1 was the first one I paid my own money for. The NES was not mine. It was actually a gift from my grandmother to my mother for her birthday. Not because my mom was ever like really big into video games or anything, but it was like the new wild electronic you had to have in the United States. And my mom was always like a techie, not necessarily video games, but always into tech. And so my grandmother mailed her one. My grandmother moved to California later in her life. Pittsburgh was just not going to cut it anymore. We had winter. And so she flees to California and just mailed it to my mom. So the NES was not mine. The Super Nintendo was. And then the PlayStation 1 was the first one I bought. Then from there on out, every console from there on out I bought with my own money, with the exception of the PlayStation 2. That was a Christmas gift from my mom. And that was the last console I got as like a Christmas gift, because I was like 18, 19 when that came out. And so literally about a year and a half later, I had moved out into my own place. So yeah. Troy?
I had to Google it to make sure it was the right one. Sorry.
Oh, Baron says, does the Amiga 500 count? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Atari 5200.
See, mine was
It
my
came out
the
in
2600
1982.
is the one we had, and it was my dad's, so I can't claim that one.
Yeah. No, that one was a gift to me.
Was that the black and silver one with the like little rainbow
Yeah,
icon
it had
on it?
it has
Yeah.
got the big controller with all the number pad at the bottom
Yep.
of it.
Yeah, and the beer holder,
Yeah.
the door on the top that was just like
Yeah, the
there's-
door on the top that's supposed to hold controllers. I don't remember the controllers fitting in there very well.
No, they did not at all. We're gonna skip the biggest real life fight because we kind of
I just will say really quick because I did want to comment on that one.
Go
I
for it.
never had a real life fight over a video game, but my brother did. My next door neighbor's cousin was over. The two of them were playing GoldenEye, and my neighbor's cousin, he was spawn camping my brother, and my brother took the Nintendo 64 controller and swung it like a nunchuck and clocked him right in the head.
oh my god.
And he had a welt for like a week and a half, the size like an egg on his head.
I guess the fight wasn't mine, but it was over my game. So growing up, I was in a not great area of town where we grew up, but we lived at the bottom of a hill, right? And at the top of the hill, the further you went up the hill, it just like got more and more depressed cash flow wise. And the top of the hill was a bunch of projects. We're talking about probably about an 8-block, pretty substantial hill, big residential area. But I hung out up there with all of my friends all the time, and I'm surprised I was a dork. I mean, you might be stunned to hear that. You might be, no, that's not possible. How could somebody as cool as you have been a
but you're
dork?
so cool, Mike.
I know. I was a dork. I was into, magic, as in making cards and women and coins disappear and saw them in half. I still do that professionally. It's much cooler when you do it professionally than when you're
Saw
like
coins in half.
like, yeah, then when you're like 11 and you're like, want to see a card trick? I'm like, God, no, please don't make me watch a card trick. But the benefit there was like, it was also like very big in gangs, right? That was like a really big, it was getting a bigger East Coast, West Coast, Bloods, Crips, like all that type of stuff was mainstream news and things like that at that time. And we had that in our neighborhood. The problem was I knew all of them. Like, it didn't matter which, I taught them all how to cheat at cards. Like, I just, here's how you palm, and here's how you do this, and here's how you do this. So there was a friend in grade school that I had lent Dick Tracy to, the NES game Dick Tracy. And a bunch of weeks later, I tried to go up the hill to his house and get it back. And he wasn't really like a friend. He was an acquaintance. And he was like, nah. And he closed his door. Like, he slammed his door. And I spent like a week and a half trying to get this back. Now, why he wanted to keep this game, I have no idea. The game was horrible. It was awful. But I'm trying to get my game back. Like, my dad's like, hey, did you get that game back? And I'm like, Dad, he wasn't home. Like, I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not like, yeah, he slammed the door in my face. And so I'm talking to another friend of mine, Chucky Havoc, up on Kincaid. So he lives up the hill. About a block and a half up the hill is this girl, Keisha, that I was friends with. Now, Keisha was like a foot and a half taller than she should have been for her age. Like, we were in whatever, 4th grade, 5th grade, and she was like 5.5 feet tall. Like, and she was not a woman that even in 5th grade, she was not a woman with which to be trifled, right? You did not mess with Keisha. And I'm talking to a bunch of people, and Keisha's there, and he's like, you talking about him? I'm like, yeah. What'd he do? And I tell him what he did. Come with me. And we walk down, and she bangs on his door like she's the fucking police. Bangs on his door. Chucky, get out here. And Chucky comes out. He's, don't knock. My mom's going to we're in the 5th and 6th grade. We're not 15, 16, 17 years old. We're 9, 10, 11 years old. And this whole story is playing out Friday style, right? Chucky comes out on the porch, and she whoops the shit out of that kid. You give Mike his game back. Oh, all right. She smacking. He goes in, gets the game, gives it back. He's just like, take it home. I'm like, all right, thanks, Keish. I got Dick Tracy back. I don't think I ever played the damn thing again. So I wasn't involved in the fight, but it was a fight over my game. So I count it.
You caused it.
I certainly caused it. What's your fondest memory, Troy, playing a game with someone else? With somebody else?
Oh man, trying to with my friends, with Bob and Levi. Absolutely one of my favorite game memories of all time. Those games were fantastic in co-op. Trine 3, not so much. It wasn't a great game, but Trine 1 and Trine 2, we played for hours, and it's all we wanted to do while we were playing it. Every time we'd take a break, we'd come back. We're like, okay, are we ready? Are we ready? Let's go. Let's play Trine. It's absolutely one of my favorite gaming memories of all time.
Havoc says Dead Mind story again. Lol. Thank you. I love you. I love you. Go ahead, Dom.
I've two. One's really short. Would snipper clips.
Torchwick's
on
not
the-
streaming after the show today, so we're not under any time crunch if you guys don't have a hard stop. You're fine.
Yeah. Snipper clips on the Nintendo Switch. I was playing with a friend of ours, Burn Omikins.
Yeah.
And was just trolling the hell out of her and just like ruining the puzzles as bad as possible, cutting her in half, and she was getting visibly upset and mad, and like just that brought me so much joy. But I think like one of my all-time favorite games with friends is when just recently, a couple of years ago actually, I think like a year ago, maybe 2 at this point. I think it was a year. When Mike Shaffnet decided to take a shot at streaming again. Or streaming for the first time. I don't know what it was, but we got together and we played Phasmophobia, and he's a big wuss, and he got in a room, and I closed him in, and the ghost spawned in there, but it wasn't like the I'm gonna kill you spawn. It's the like I'm gonna haunt you spawn, and just like make myself visible. And like the audible noises that came out of his mouth like brought me so much joy. I can't even describe the like it. Oh, it was so much fun.
Takal saying going to my cousin's house in Georgia for summers as a kid, playing Street Fighter 2 for hours, and then making a lot of typo corrections because apparently his wife's asking him about Skittles colors. That must be an interesting conversation. I don't know what would spawn a conversation about the colors that Skittles come in, but Havoc says, or our first run through Kara. Yeah, like if you think Havoc and I were stunned at the Dead Mines, then we get attuned and do the heroic keys and all that shit, and finally get attuned to Kara and go to Kara. I mean, that just blew our mind. Baron says, Caveman Olympics, playing all of my friends from around the neighborhood. Good times, funny.
I also want to throw in, I forgot, Goldeneye.
Again.
Yeah. Me and my friends, we used to get together, and like I remember we'd play in his basement, and we made like special cardboard dividers to block everybody's views so you couldn't screen. Like that's how absolute crazy we were playing this game.
This is serious, Tony. Stop looking at my TV.
It's because everybody would get, because I was undefeated in the game, and it's because I did screen cheat. I'm not even gonna lie, like I was the reason they did it. But it's like I memorized all the maps, all the spawns, and everything. And I had grenade launchers, and I just like fire them around corners as they're spawning because I knew exactly like how to force spawn somebody to a location. Like if you kill them here, they're gonna spawn here if another player's over here. So like I would kill somebody, run to another spot, force them to spawn, and as they're spawning, run to where they are and like already be firing a grenade. They'd be dying as they're spawning. So frustrating, and proximity mines, launching all the spawn points with proximity mines. They just stopped playing with me at one point. It's just ridiculous.
I have a ton of memories of playing video games with my dad. And my dad sadly passed away in his early 50s, way too young. And it was, in the early, what is the exact year? I don't even remember. I think he's like 14 years ago now. So he's been gone a while. But I have so many just memories of playing games with my dad. Like we rented Hal's Hole-in-One Golf from Far More Entertainment for the Super Nintendo. Neither one of us golfed. We just didn't. We didn't golf. He picked that one. I'm like, why would you pick a golf game? We had no clue how to play. Far More didn't put the manuals in the box. We have no clue how to play this. The first hole is taking us 200 strokes because we can't figure out the 3-click meter because we have no frame of reference for that type of thing back then. Like when you see it on the screen now, you're like, okay, click, click, click. But no, we have no idea. or playing Zelda and holding competitions because we could both beat the game. We were pretty proficient at it. Maniac Mansion on the NES is another one. We had the original version where you could actually put the hamster in the microwave. If you know, you know. And that was like one of the first games I ever heard of getting a patch or a fix. Like they stopped print, made a coding change, and then started reprinting again. So there's 2 versions of that game. Just so many great memories. And then with my mom too, Donkey Kong Country was ours. Minecart Mayhem was just an absolute blast to sit on the living room floor and play with my mother, who just could not beat that level. Just could not beat that level. And then, of course, the raiding stuff with Havoc, because I did a lot of Final Fantasy XI's version of raids isn't exactly the way you think of a raid, but I did a lot of guild content there. But World of Warcraft was like the first time I had real-life friends or relatives in the guild, right? Because my wife was in my Final Fantasy XI guild, but we had to take turns. Because we didn't have a computer for the longest time that could do it. So yeah, I think that's it. Gaming related thing, Troy, that you saved up and bought for with your own money, whether it's a console, a game itself, a cool gaming piece of swag. First one you remember saving. I'm going to save up my cash and buy that.
Like the one that I really had to save up for, and like I saved up for some Nintendo games, some NES games and stuff back in the day, but the one that I really remember saving up for, because I'm weird about spending money sometimes. And so I had saved up for my birthday to buy my PlayStation 2 and San Andreas and the Incredible Hulk and something else. I think I bought 3 games. So we go to Best Buy. And I'm there, and this is the reason I've saved up this money. This is the reason I have this money.
Yeah, you socked all this money aside specifically for this.
Yes, and it hasn't hurt us or anything. This is just my extra money that I've put aside. So I get there, and I've got the PlayStation 2 in my hands. I've got the games I want in my hands. We start walking up to the cash register, and I start busting out into a legit cold sweat. I have got sweat pouring off of me, and we're standing there in line. And my wife looks at me. She goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I think I fixed to put all this back." And she's like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Because I don't know if I could spend this money on this."
Honey, this is $5.
A lot of money. And she's like, "This is what you've been saving up for. It's your birthday. You should get what you've been saving up for." And I was like, "Okay." So I set it up on the register, and I'm just sweating and I'm shaking. And I finally buy the stuff, and I get home. And of course, San Andreas, as we talked about earlier, becomes one of my favorite games of all time. But man, that tore me up spending that money.
Baron Vagabond uses I think their keyboard is stuck. Their reply to everything is just Amiga 500. Yeah, the PlayStation 1 is probably, again, same thing, Troy. I had bought video games before, save up money over 3 or 4 weeks of pins setting and then go buy a game. But the PlayStation 1 was like the first big spend of my own money for somebody that wasn't an adult, didn't have a day-to-day job and a paycheck every 2 weeks, was working once a week, making like $20, $25 and saving it up to go do that. And Havoc actually went with me. We went to Toy Kingdom. That doesn't exist anymore. Bought the PlayStation, bought Resident Evil, took it home, started playing it. And you guys know, many of you may know the whole story. If you don't at some point, come ask me on a stream. I don't want to belabor it since I've told this story before. But the short version of the problem with Resident Evil was they didn't tell me to buy a memory card. And I didn't have any more money. I had already come home. I'm not going to have money for like 2 weeks or so. I got really good at Resident Evil from the beginning. Like really good from just booting it up and having to play and not being able to stop. You missed Toys R Us. Nothing was good as getting that ticket and taking it in the counter. Oh, I remember that. Havoc says first collector's edition of WoW's expansion pack. So that would have been Wrath, right? Because didn't we joined after Burning Crusade was, yeah, because 70 was the level cap when Havoc and I really started playing. So BC was already out. Wrath would have been the one there. Dom?
So I mean, I bought a PS2 on my own, but it happened to like coincide with I already had the money for it at the time, so I didn't really like have that whole moment of like I'm saving up for this. But I'd say that probably the one that I actually like put some money aside was actually when I was a bit older, and I had a job and bills and other stuff to worry about and pay off. Was the Wii U, right? And it was just like I didn't
Boy,
feel the need to get it when it first came out.
There's a few Hondo I bet you wish you had back.
No, I'm actually I'm not upset with the purchase. Um, like I remember like not really having the money for it at the time, and it's like I could buy it, but I'd rather not. Maybe I'll just put a little bit of money aside here and there as it goes, and I'll decide whether or not I get it. And then like then they released the special Zelda version of the Wii U, and it's like, okay, now I'll buy it. Because I think Mario 3D World just came out around that time as well. I think it was when Mario 3D World came out. That's when I was like, okay, I need a Wii U now. And I enjoyed the hell out of the game. I played the hell out. I still never finished Wind Waker to this day. I got so aggravated with the sailing.
What?
But I'm glad that I bought the Zelda console.
Did you buy? Have you played like the new version of it, the updated version that has streamlined a lot of those long sailing sections and stuff? So you never went back.
I will. I want to go back and go through literally every Zelda game. That's gonna be something that I do.
Gotcha.
At some point, but I will get to it. So I have not yet.
Somebody asked in chat earlier, by the way, is one of my questions your biggest gaming disappointment? No. You're missing the point of the show.
Positivity here.
Positivity. Gaming's supposed to be fun.
Yeah. What's your best gaming fight?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, man. I didn't get my ass kicked that day.
I didn't either.
Exactly. Takal says, do more of these shows. I know you got to cover the news and stuff, but I do love these episodes, but I think this is one of your best ones. Hey, thanks. Thank you. I only got a couple more, gang. I'm not going to keep you too long. Anybody have somewhere they absolutely got to be? I got three more.
I got another like 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. The thing you wish, Dom, that past gamer you knew based on what today you knows about gaming.
Okay. Past me would know not to buy things immediately when you don't have a chance to play
them. Baron literally just typed in chat, did Dom ever open that game like 10 seconds before you showed that in fact you had not? What about you, Troy? What do you want?
Same problem, except with board games. I have so many unplayed board games that aren't even opened yet. Because I buy them and then we eventually get to them, but not immediately. So it's board games for me.
I would go back and give former me a list of the 10 items that I want you to buy 3 of and leave 2 sealed. Here's a list of 10 games that it doesn't matter how much dad fights you on. You got to get him to buy 3, play 1, and leave the other 2 sealed in a dark closet. They're sleepers on the same mindset as me. Don't throw those boxes away. See, luckily I still have mine because I did come from a dad who was a collector of things, and so I do have weird sealed stuff that somebody my age just should not be able to obtain because of my dad. So I still have my SNES boxes and things like that.
I have a sealed copy of Demon Souls on the PS2 or 3 or whatever it was.
I have a sealed copy of Final Fantasy 3 for the SNES.
Nice. Can I also extend this to my Steam library as well?
No.
Maybe not buy games that you don't you intend on playing, but you
Isn't
never
that
ever get around to.
everybody?
That doesn't count. That's all of us. Thing you wish you could change about gaming today to make it more like the way you remember gaming in the past, Troy. We all have these positive memories of gaming that I think a lot of people in gaming today, they're not going to have some of these. They'll obviously have their good moments and their moments with friends and family and but what would you change today just to make it a little more, if you could, like the way you remember it being, whether that's actually the way it was or not? It doesn't matter.
I remember games working when I bought them.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't all that way. But if it was a buggy mess, it just failed. And there was no coming back and fixing it. There was no updating it. It either worked when you put it out or it didn't. And some of my favorite games, they just worked when I put them in.
Yeah.
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 I think we're on the same track because I was gonna say, like removing the digital and the online updating aspect of it because games
Which
came
can
out
be
complete.
great. But the
They
problem
came
is
out
they're coming
complete
out
and they
incomplete.
worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of on the same page with that one.
Yeah, I wish like it hadn't turned into such a struggle to just make a game. Like there's so many bars over just being able to make a good game. And not that it can't be done and not that many don't do it. Hi-Fi Rush is phenomenal, by the way. Absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't played it on Game Pass, it was a shadow launch during the Bethesda Xbox show. If you like rhythm games and anime-inspired, cell shade, it's fantastic game. I played it this afternoon. I'm going to play it again later. But yeah, it's easy to sit here and say, I wish it wasn't as much of a business as it is. And I don't think that's fair. That's not like a small little thing I could change about the industry. It's always going to be that way from now on. But I just wish that the whole industry didn't go there, where everything's got a battle pass, everything's got a loot box. Even if it's a single player game, it's going to try and force some type of recurring monetization. I think that, unfortunately, I know that's not going to go anywhere, right? Because that is the norm for the kids that were our age.
And that all falls
and I have
under
to,
the
I keep
umbrella
it,
category.
as my kids were growing up, I had to explain this is not the way it should be. This is your friends think this is gaming and normal. It's not. There was a better way.
Yeah. But I mean, that all falls under the umbrella category of like not being able to be online, right? You're not going to have battle passes and all this stuff if the games aren't online. Like that. Online gaming is great, but like there's a whole part of it that's destroying gaming at the same time.
Last one, Dom. Your favorite weird or quote unquote bad game? LAN parties. Oh, I miss LAN parties. On MMO Bomb's show, Troy, we talked about midnight releases last week. Remember? That was a nostalgia moment. Midnight releases. We got a lot of great answers on that show, but LAN parties, that's another nostalgia moment.
I want to say for me, it's not it's not a bad game, but it was a game that I looked at, and upon looking at it, is like, why would anybody play this? It was so weird. It was a Sega Genesis game. And it's kind of, I think, like a cult classic favorite now. Rocket Pig, I think it was called.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. Like you look at it and you're like, a pig that's in a knight costume with a sword that can launch himself like a rocket. And it's like, what is going on? It's like in a fantasy setting, and it's like, it's so strange. It's so quirky. But actually playing it, it's so much fun.
Rocket Pig? Is it called Rocket Pig?
I think it's called Rocket Pig. I don't know.
Is it Rocket Knight?
Rocket Knight. That's
what
probably
it is?
it.
I think I can picture the box.
Rocket Knight Adventures.
Yeah. Almost looks like a dog in a Ghosts and Goblins armor outfit.
So it's not a pig. It's like a I don't even know what he is.
I don't know what it is either. I knew what you were talking about, but I was like,
he's a possum.
Yeah, he's a possum. Oh God,
he's a possum.
Your favorite weird or bad game, Troy? What do you got? Tikal thinks he's an aardvark.
I think it would be a weird game because most people would say, "Why would you play this instead of GoldenEye?" But back in the day, instead of GoldenEye, we always played Army Men, Sergeant's Heroes. And it was kind of the same deal. It was
for
a
a
split
while.
screen, 4-player. And we never really got into GoldenEye. I owned GoldenEye, and I played GoldenEye by myself. But as a group, it was always Army Men, Sergeant's Heroes. That's the one we always played.
Yeah,
and I just think most people were like,
bad.
Why would you
they
play
were just
that over
weird.
GoldenEye? Yeah.
And those are, if you ask somebody like, name classic first-person shooters you played a ton of, but you're not allowed to say GoldenEye, you'll hear that. And what's the other? Time Splitters. Time Splitters is another one you hear a lot of. Ikari Warriors on the NES for Tikal. That's a great game. I'm going to go with the weird Concept on the PlayStation 2, and there was some after that on other systems and on handhelds. It's a series I wish they would do something with now, but they haven't for a very long time. It's almost like, Troy, this would be right up your alley. It is a blast. It's basically Monopoly and Magic the Gathering having a baby, where you go around a board, you're gaining points as you go around the board. There's a whole PvE with storyline, and then you could play locally with friends. But yeah, it's trying to take over properties by dropping monster cards, and if you land on somebody's, and you can try to battle it and take the spot, or if you don't have anything in your hand that's worth taking that risk, you just pay the rent. And yeah, Culdcept, Culdcept. Nice series. One of the best ones is the original on the PlayStation 2. A little weird game, if you can get your hands on it. No game of the week game this week from any of the three of us. None. I think, gentlemen, this was such a good palate cleanser for me. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this ride.
It was super enjoyable.
If you're watching on YouTube or on ReadyCheckRadio.com, go down to the comments and you recommend a game for us to play that we really need to check out. And I don't care if it's back on the NES or on the PlayStation 5 today or on PC. It doesn't matter. Trust me.
Most of us still own NESs and such anyway.
Trust me, wink, wink, we'll find a way to play it. let us know. Of course,
Mike has a Steam Deck just for that.
We'll be back next week with another episode of Gaming Gumbo. Until then, Troy, where can everybody find you?
Hey, I'm on social media everywhere at Noob Fridge.
Dom.
You can find me down below at Itzista, XIZTA.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at Magic Man 1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO, and you'll know every time we go live with a podcast, streamer, or anything else. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. I did not.